Hey guys, back here with Tua for another video. Update pup date time, week 47. If you're new to this channel, I do these types of videos every single Sunday on my Bullmastiff Tua as he turns another week older. So he is 47 weeks old today. And basically I just do these videos to try and create a great log of information for anybody that would be interested in the breed. This is kind of a week by week breakdown of what I'm experiencing with my Bullmastiff here, Tua. And I basically just try to touch on, everything that I'm going through with him week to week. Things like what I'm doing to socialize him, his physical size. I update you guys on his weight, on his height, what I'm going through with him as far as like drooling, shedding, all kinds of things. And basically it's just kind of showing you guys what I'm doing. So if he turns out to be a great dog like he has been so far, you'll be able to kind of see what I did to shape and mold that with him. And go ahead, check out all the videos if you're interested in the breed. It's turning into a really good log of information all the way from, when he was 8-9 weeks old up until now, 47 weeks old. And it's just a good breakdown of if you're interested in what they're like, whether it's physical size, personality, anything at a certain age, you have that breakdown here. Check out all the videos if you're interested in the breed. So normally I start these videos out with kind of something new that I've noticed throughout the week. There really wasn't a whole lot of new stuff this week, and it actually is kind of a good thing because it's going to give me an opportunity to touch on something quickly. I've had, one of the viewers has asked me a couple times now in the videos to touch on leashes and collars and what I'm using for Tua. So I'm going to take just a few minutes here and do that. So with Tua, I don't have like a whole lot for leashes and collars that I use for him. I'm just going to start out with exactly what I did from the day we brought him home up until now. So when he was young, the very first collar that we got for him was just this, a top paw one. We got it at PetSmart. Very simple. It's just one of these with the buckles, plastic buckle, snaps together. Once he outgrew that, we just got him an identical one, but just bigger. Same thing, top paw from PetSmart. Very simple. This is pretty much your standard fabric collar. And I do like these. However, I will say that as he gets older and stronger, which, I probably could switch now, I don't like these buckles as much because I've seen in the past that as they age and get older, these buckles can tend to snap and break. Especially if you have a very big dog. If you have a little dog, not the end of the world. But when they're really pulling on this, as this plastic ages, it can snap and then you can have your dog get off leash. So I think shortly here I am going to switch to a leather one that has more of like a belt style clip to it. Just a lot stronger. But this type of collar, this is kind of just his day-to-day wearer, although now I have him in his chain collar or his choker collar a lot, just lounging and stuff, or no collar at all. But these ones are great to use. Now we'll get into his training collar or his choker collar that you guys see him in a lot. So I pretty much started him, like this is his from when he was a little puppy. As you can see, it barely even gets around his mouth anymore. But this is called a training collar or a choker collar, whatever you want to call it. They're kind of controversial. I will say I've been using these on my dogs since I've been probably like 12 years old, and I've never had an issue with it. If they're used properly, they're a great tool for training. You're not choking the dog. I don't even know why they call it a choker collar because you're in no way, shape, or form choking the dog. You're simply using quick pops, quick corrections on the dog. Now, if you're using this incorrectly, I guess you technically could choke a dog. But the point isn't for them to be pulling. The point is for them to take the quick correction, the quick snap of the collar, and not be pulling. So when I'm walking Tua and he's starting to kind of pull away, I give him just a quick pop, and it's back to a loose leash. And he's not pulling in any way, shape, or form. He's not being choked. Just a quick pop, quick correction, back to a loose lead. So, as you can see here, if you're using this properly and you give a correction, it goes back to loose. You're just giving a correction. So you always want this ring here to be on the downside because then it will loosen again, as you can see here, after I give the quick pop. If I have this upside down, then this does turn into a choker collar. I'll show you that. So if I have this where the ring's on the top side now, not on the bottom, and I give a correction, see how that chokes, that does not release? That's not what you want. As long as you're using this properly, it's a great tool for training. You will not hurt the dog. I know lots of people say that, you know, that can hurt their trachea, their throat, whatever. I've been using choker collars, like I said, on my dog since I was 12 years old. I've never had an issue whatsoever. You need to be responsible, do your own research, and use it properly. You can cut yourself cutting a steak with a steak knife too if you're using it improperly. I've also been cutting steaks since I was probably 12 years old with a steak knife. I've never cut myself. Use it properly, do your own research, be careful. Choker collars are just a fine tool to use for training. And then here to it. So this is the one that he has now. Same exact thing, only bigger. As you can see, I just had to upsize it. If you don't like choke collars, training collars, I would encourage you not to use one, but if used properly, they're a great tool for walking your dog, training your dog. Just do your own research, but definitely not like this bad product to use or anything. I think it's just a great tool that you can use for your dog. Which brings me to the next one, which is even more controversial, the prong collar. This is Tua's prong collar. And with that choker collar, I pretty much started using that for walking and stuff day one. So 8-9 weeks old as a puppy. Just wanted to throw that out there too. You can't really use those too early, in my opinion at least. But now to the prong collar. This is also the even more controversial one. This one I started using on Tua around probably 6 to 7 months of age. And strictly just when we're walking him or doing training exercises. And just like the choker collar, it's the same concept. You do quick, snappy corrections. You do not choke him with this. You do not keep it tight. You just do the quick pops, quick corrections, and the dog is very reactive to it. Again, I've been using these on all my dogs also from when I was very young, and I've never hurt my dog. I've never even heard him let out a cry or anything. You're just doing quick pops, quick corrections. If you have any questions about choker collar or the prong collar, also go ahead and let me know. I know this one looks kind of intimidating, guys, but it's really not that bad. It's just another way of putting pressure on the dog, and just in a more forceful way, I guess, to give corrections and things like that. I wouldn't recommend these for a small dog because there's just really no point, but for a big dog like a Bullmastiff, they're a great tool. You can also buy individual links for these, like I have been, to make this collar bigger. I've probably gone through like 4 or 5 links just making this one bigger for Tua. So that's all I use for collars for him as of right now. Leashes. This is the only leash that we've had for him since he was a puppy. This is just his 6-foot like walking leash, training leash. Top paw, got this one at PetSmart also. It's pretty much all you need. Just 6-foot training leash. This is 90% of the time what we use. Now, a great thing that you can use also for your dog, not just Bullmastiff, any dog, is a long leash. This one here is probably a 20-foot long leash. I want to say my mother-in-law actually made this one for us. She's really good with sewing and stuff. And we have a couple of these. And the reason long leashes are really good, it allows your dog to be kind of technically off leash, running around freely, but you still have control of them, you know, within however many feet this leash is. This one's 20 foot, but I think we have another one too that's probably 20 feet also, and sometimes I'll connect them together. So if we're at a park or something, and I want Tua to be off leash, but still have lots of control over him, you know, I'll just put those two together, and then as long as I'm within 40 feet of him, he's still pretty much under my complete control. So long leashes are great. You don't necessarily have to buy them at a store either, because then they're going to get really expensive. Just go get a clip like this at a hardware store, and then go get a rope and make your own. You get a 50 or 100 foot rope even, and really practice with your dog, or let them run around off leash and still have control of them from a long distance away. Really like long leashes. But that's all I use for him as far as leashes and collars go. Hopefully that helps to the viewer that was asking. Like I say in the end of all these videos, I I want you guys to ask me if there's anything you want me to touch on that I don't normally. So now that I've touched on the collars and leashes, I'll go ahead and get into just the normal things that I touch on every single week, and we'll go ahead and start with weight. And I'm going to try and get through these a little bit quicker this week than I normally do, since I already took a decent amount of time talking about leashes and collars. But like I said, we'll start with weight like we usually do every single week. Last week, Tua was 125 pounds, and this week he's still at 125 pounds. So like I've talked about these last several videos, continuing to put on that weight nice and slow. I want to say the last few weeks, he's had a week where he gained nothing, a week where he gained 2 pounds, and now we're on to nothing again. So we're continuing to put that weight on slow. Last week I kind of mentioned, he is slowly filling out, but he's also staying nice and lean. I compared him to like an athlete, kind of, where you can see all the muscles bulging under his skin, in his legs. You can still see veins in his legs. You can still see his ribs. I said he kind of reminded me of my previous dog, a Doberman Pinscher, how he was just built like an athlete, extremely lean, extremely ripped. And that's kind of where Tua is now, although I know he will not stay like that as he ages and fills out and slows down. But we want to continue to put that weight on him nice and slow like we are. And I'm basically just monitoring his weight and making my own decision on how much I'm feeding him per meal based on what I feel like he's looking like. I would say in general, I'm giving him anywhere from 3 to 3.5 cups of food per meal, but that really just depends. I've had days where he's really been doing a lot of running around, and I've given him as much as like closer to 4 cups per meal. But in general, I'd say 3 to 3.5 cups per meal, and then obviously I monitor his weight every week and just kind of eyeball test him by looking at him, seeing his leanness and things like that. So since we're talking about food, his weight, we'll move on to food, what I'm feeding him. If you're a regular viewer of this channel, you know I supplement with raw food. This week we supplemented with chicken breast, chicken eggs, chicken gizzards, and carrots. And everything's going really well with that. And I did also feed him an entire whole raw fish this week, also tilapia. I don't know how many of you saw that video. It wasn't the first time that I've fed him fish, but it was the first time that I've given him like an entire one without cutting it up. So go ahead, check out that video if you're interested also. I'd say I'm pretty close to a 50-50 split here, half of that being kibble and half of that being some sort of raw meat, vegetable, fruit. Raw diet is going very well with Tua. As I say every week, I would encourage you guys to all do your own research on raw food. It's just a really great thing to supplement with your dogs. It gives them lots of great vitamins, minerals, nutrients that they wouldn't normally get through their kibble. I don't know if I'll ever go full completely raw, but I definitely like doing this nice 50-50 split. I kind of plan on doing this for a while. It's going really good. If you're nervous about starting or anything, we started with our miniature Pinscher, who was 10 years old when we got Tua, giving her raw food as well, and she hasn't had any bad reactions to it whatsoever. Kind of wish I would have started with her earlier as well, but I wasn't really as familiar or educated on the topic of raw food as I am now. Like I say every week, I'm still definitely no expert, but if you have any questions, you can go ahead and ask me, but there's lots of good resources out there online, so check them all out if you're interested in supplementing with raw food for your dog, which I would encourage you to. Socialization is another thing I touch on every single week, what I'm doing to socialize Tua. This week, we took him for a few walks. We didn't get into any stores like we did last week. We didn't see any people or dogs on those walks. It's kind of starting to get colder here, so there's not as much commotion, not as much people outside walking around and things like that. But he's been, socialized with people and dogs from a very, very young age. We've made sure to go out of our way early on for months and months and months. So he's great with people, great with dogs. We did have a couple new to Tua people come over this week into the house just for a little while, just to visit. And like I kind of mentioned last week or the week before, when we're having people come into the house, since he's still, such a puppy as far as his personality goes, but he's also a 125-pound puppy. So to kind of keep him at bay, so to speak, I will have him on his leash for the first, 10 to 15 minutes as somebody comes into our house, just so I can control him. Because he's very excited. He loves people, guys. And after, 10 to 15 minutes, and he's used to the people being here, he'll calm down, and I go ahead, take him off his leash, and he's just fine. I don't know if this will be something we have to do for his entire life. I don't really anticipate that. I think it's just the puppy in him, but we'll see. Obviously, like if me or my wife comes home, he doesn't act the same. He'll be excited and come up to us, but we don't have to keep him on a leash for that. He's not jumping all over us or anything like that. But if a new person comes in, then we will. But it's definitely out of excitement. It's not out of like aggression or anything. Tua's never shown any signs of aggression towards people or dogs or animals for that matter in any situation that I've ever brought him into. Drooling is another thing I touch on every single week. Like I said last week, this one's getting really repetitive, but I want to keep touching on it because it's a big topic that people are interested in when getting a bull mastiff. Drooling is the same. Tua is a drooler. He does drool a lot, but 90% of that is related to when he's only drinking water and it's pouring out of his jowls afterwards. The other 10% of the time, I would say, if he's stressed or excited, a little bit of drool will form, or if he's hot and panting, if we're out on a walk or running around in the yard or something. But the drool in the stress, excited, or hot and panting situation is like nothing compared to immediately after drinking water. So none of those are really issues to me because after he's drinking water, I know when that's going to happen, obviously, and I'm just waiting with a rag or a paper towel. Or like I said in previous videos, we're moving his water outside a lot lately to leave the mess out there. And then when he's stressed or excited or hot and panting, we're usually outside also, or I know the situation, so I have a rag or a paper towel handy with me. Energy is another thing that I like to touch on every single week. That's the same as well for this week. He has his 2 windows, 2 to 3 hours every morning and 2 to 3 hours around dinner time at night when he's most active, when he wants to play, run around, play fetch, go for walks, whatever. But outside of those 2 windows, he pretty much likes to lounge around, chew on toys, sleep, or just lay there and be around us. So overall, 75% of his day is pretty laid back. But he does get pretty high energy in those windows at times. And I've also said that, during the day when he wants to lay around and be lazy, he's also never turning down an opportunity to go for a walk. Like if I get home from work early, I'll like to take him for walks and he's, just lounging around, but he gets out on those walks and he keeps up no problem. So we'll see how that goes as he ages. But right now I routinely take him for 1 to 2 mile walks with no issues whatsoever, unless it's, extremely hot out or something. He'll slow down a little bit. Barking is the last thing that I touch on every single week. And that's unchanged again. He's not much of a barker. However, if he's hearing kind of strange sounds or noises, related to around our house or around our yard or strange people maybe, he'll let out some barks until he kind of sees what's going on. Outside of our home, I want to say there's only 1 or 2 times that I've ever even heard him bark. Everything's related to our house and or our yard, and that would just kind of be the guarding instinct in him, I can only assume. But it doesn't go on for hours or anything, 30 seconds to a minute, and he's kind of all done once he's figured out what's going on. So not much of a barker at all, which is, typical to the breed standard. That's pretty much all I have for this week, guys. This one was a little bit longer, so if you stuck around for the whole thing, really appreciate it. Glad I could touch on the collars and leashes that had been asked to me, a couple times by one of the viewers. I hope that explains what I'm doing, and if you have any more questions, obviously ask down in the comments. Otherwise, thanks for watching, guys. Take care.